Hi, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Cardano podcast. I'm Ryan Morrison, and today I'm going to have an interview with the team of WADA. WADA stands for West Africa Decentralized Alliance, and they have an idea slash project also on idea scale on Project Catalyst. By the way, if you don't know about Project Catalyst, you can go to cardano.ideascale.com and then you can see the different projects that are there, what does it mean, and how you can apply also. In short, it's a project where you can apply with ideas or projects and the community, the Cardano community will vote and give you funding in ADA, in the native token of the Cardano ecosystem, if they consider that your idea is good enough to be implemented. But without further ado, let's jump into the interview with the team of WADA. All right, guys. So then, as we said before, we are here with the team that has proposed a project about West Africa Decentralized Alliance, and we're going to talk about specifically about the project and in the context of Project Catalyst as well, and the broader topic about blockchain and Africa, Cardano in Africa, and then how do you guys see also the future specifically in West Africa. So to start, well, thank you for taking the time, guys. And if you can start, Mercy, with introducing yourself, and then we go one by one.
Okay, I am Mercy, and part of the WADA team. I'm in charge of communications and coordination. I live in Canada, Ghana, and that's me.
Perfect. Over to you, Virginia.
Hello, everyone. I am Virginia. I am one of the owners and operators of a stake pool called XYZ. So you can call me Virginia XYZ. And I am a very, very proud advisor of WADA. So
thank you.
More to come.
Perfect. And now over to you, Fotio.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fotio Manfo Felicien, and I recently joined the WADA team. And I'm really looking forward to, working together to bringing blockchain technology and, all the potential that comes with it in Africa in general. Primarily a software developer, entrepreneur, and farmer. And again, I'm looking forward to combining all of those and doing something for Africa.
Perfect. That's a great segue to the next topic now. Let's go deeper in the project in WADA. Now that you mentioned Africa, of course, for Cardano, Africa has been since the very beginning in the loop as a very important place for developing its own technology. So maybe we can start also by explaining what WADA is and what are you guys trying to achieve with the project. That is, by the way, for all the people that are looking at this podcast, or if you're listening to this podcast in another streaming service, you can find, and I'll leave also then the link to the project in Catalyst. So there you can also read much more about it. But maybe you guys, if you can explain a bit more of how WADA started and what are you trying to achieve with the project.
Okay, I'm going to start and then I'll give it to Virginia and Marfo. So WADA, as you've said, Ryan, thank you for that introduction. It's West Africa Decentralized Alliance. And it came about just because of just blockchain technology. I got into blockchain technology around late 2017, early 2018. Initially, it was Bitcoin that attracted me, but then, early 2018, I heard Charles Hoskinson give a lecture on blockchain technology in Africa. He gave that lecture at the London School of Economics, and it touched me deeply. He talked about tokenization of natural resources. He talked about, identity, all the things that blockchain could do for Africa. At that point, I just completely forgot about Bitcoin, and then, it just went all into into Cardano. So around that time, like Charles would talk a lot about a lot of the work that they were doing in East Africa and in South Africa, and was like, oh, okay, so this is good. And I was sort of hoping, myself, all the three of us here, we are West Africa born people, and we all want to see West Africa succeed, but we're not really seeing, in terms of Cardano, what was going to happen in West Africa. And then it just occurred to me at that time that this is something that we need to do ourselves. So that's what gave birth to West Africa Decentralized Alliance. At the time that we had our team, we had people like Marfo and Virginia. It was still just a concept kind of thing. But the team has just crystallized the alliance so much. So basically what we are doing is just to bring in developers, individuals, institutions, governments onto the Cardano ecosystem. And the reason that we chose the Cardano ecosystem is just because the Cardano protocol is so well built and it covers everything. You compare it to Bitcoin or Ethereum. Bitcoin is just a ledger, an in and out ledger. Ethereum, it's programmable money, but then as we all know, it can't really scale as we would want it to scale. So we know that for now, all that Cardano brings in terms of, as I mentioned, identity ownership, finance, micro lending, and all that, just is perfect for Africa.
Got it. Very interesting. And so how long ago did you start it? Did you, now specifically talking about Project Catalyst, did you guys start in previous funding rounds as well for applying?
For me personally, with running my stake pool, I have not had any projects to be funded, but I have been, looking at the ecosystem and following some of the great proposals that are out there. And definitely WADA outranked all of them. So, we are following the ecosystem and the Catalyst project, and it's just to see what some of the people out there have on and taking the ecosystem to another level. So
yeah, we put in WADA in Fund 1, where some of the earliest pilots who were sort of the guinea pigs. And then we also into Fund 2. We had very high aspirations that WADA was going to get funded. But unfortunately, we did get the community approval, but the amount of money wasn't, it didn't really quite get down to us. So that's what happened with that. And now we are in Fund 3, and we are still very, very optimistic. So.
And apart from the budget, what kind of feedback did you guys get in the previous fund? More from other members of the community? What did they say? What they were looking for to give more votes, for example, or what they were looking for that you by then didn't have that you have now?
That's a great question. I think one of the things, all the positive comments were positive. As Virginia has said, like some people come on, they look at the project and they're like, whoa, that's a very ambitious project. We wish you well. We know that you'll succeed. But then it's the negative comments that, we sort of focus on and we try to work on. So I think that the main thing that sticks out right now is just the team. What a few of the comments were like, at that time, it's sort of the pandemic had just started, and they were just wondering how are you going to do all this virtually, right? So yeah, so that was the main thing. And as I said, in those stages, we had a team, but it's not as great as we have now. We have somebody like Manfo. Manfo will tell us a bit more about the kind of things that we actually want to do on the ground. But our team has just grown. We have people like Virginia. We have Professor in Ghana who is going to be our academic chair. We have, somebody also called Sydney. He's also an advisor. He has been worked for many years in Fortune 500 company. He's very, very experienced. And we are having people like, as I said, Malfo, joining the coalition. So I think that's the main thing. And we've really crystallized the team. We have been meeting weekly, and we are working very well. We can see how the implementation will run out. Will run. It's become clearer for us.
Got it.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Thanks for the answer. Because there was I asked for some members of the community to give me some questions before to ask you. Then that was one of the questions that was different now than in the previous funds when you applied before. But it's clear now. You mentioned also that about the specifics on the technical side as well. Maybe we can pass it now to Manfred. You mentioned him that if he can maybe talk a little bit more in depth about that side of things.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thank you for the introduction. The way I usually present this is I follow the flow of our history, trying to start a company in Cameroon back in 2014. So it came out of our frustration. The diaspora sent a lot of money back home, and that money is not always used for what it was intended for. That's one issue that we were trying to solve. The second issue was the fact that, very often the diaspora has to go through centralized companies like MoneyGram, Western Union, and many others. And
11%.
There you go. Yeah. So when you dig deep into like the fees, and it's outrageous. So we came up with this idea, a platform where we could, offer services and allow the diaspora to pay directly for those services and goods and products, and then their relative could, consume them back in Africa. But the other component was the tracking. So let's say I pay for my little brother tuition. I want to know that he's actually attending like the classes, if I can put it this way. So that's what the platform was going to do. And so, but down the road, we realized that our financial model didn't add up with, the broken financial system and monetary system that we have today. We were thinking about charging people small fees, like, I don't know, 0.1% or 1% at maximum. Unfortunately, we learned about like all the how can I put this? You look at the Visa and Master network, and they're already taking away 2%. Yeah. And that didn't work with our model. So we kind of hit the wall, and we had to think about alternatives. And that's how I discovered blockchain, Bitcoin to be more specific. And then, we kept like studying, because it was, blockchain is, it's hard when it's not easy to understand, like, so we realized that Bitcoin specifically was not going to solve our issues, because at the time the fees were too high. The transaction that we were thinking about were going to be like in the range of, let's say, $1 to $100, $200, and fees were just outrageous. So in our research, we discovered Cardano, and it seemed to answer so many questions that we had at the time. But unfortunately, they just started, and they were, they were following like a what I would call a normal scientific process. We don't see that very much these days with a lot of blockchains and cryptocurrency out there. And we decided to work with them whenever they are, the platform is ready. And again, still in our research process, we realized that what we were trying to do was getting bigger and bigger, and we needed like, a new paradigm and a new, like, a solid structure to push all our ideas and projects up. One issue that we encountered in Cameroon was that the partners that we were hoping to work with, those who were supposed to, offer the services and products on our platform, didn't have our philosophy. So then we started thinking maybe we are going to have to create our own brand, meaning our own like companies, whether that's in the agricultural field or IT field or whatever we were trying to do. And we discovered Mondragon. It's a company, a corporation. It's actually a network of corporation or cooperatives in Spain. And we really like their model because it is closest to what we have in Africa, the way we live as communities, and we really loved it. And that really pushed us to think deep and differently on how we can not only tap into all the possibility that the blockchain is offering in terms of like value transfer, but also combine that with agriculture. So that's how it started. And still in the process, I was trying to reach out to the Cardano community. Being someone who likes staying behind the scene, I discovered, if I can put it this way, Mercy. And I learned about WADA, and I was like, wow, this is exactly what we were missing. We are action people, we are farmers, we are software developers, but the missing component was someone who could, help us connect with the Cardano Foundation and all the community. And that's what WADA was already doing on the field. And that's a little bit like the big picture. But we can get into details. I don't want to take too much time. We can get into details.
Sure, but yeah, thank you. I think like what you mentioned, that path getting into first into Bitcoin, what you mentioned as well, Mercy. Usually it's like the path that we all had first Bitcoin, then you learn and you look at what are other projects in blockchain, who else is using this technology, and that's how you go down looking at the other projects. So I think it is probably the most common path. Now that we were talking about the path, maybe we can also talk about how do you see the path for expanding also on this in West Africa. I know that a big part of WADA, for what I could read also on Project Catalyst, is that you guys want to also focus a lot in this education as well. So maybe we can talk about that, about education about blockchain in West Africa.
Virginia, do you want to start? Virginia is very, very passionate about the education bit. And then please. I will add to it.
That will be good. Yes. So the education part of WADA project is very, very, very important, because one of the main reasons that oftentimes people, I won't say people, but that Africa is dismissed. It seems that as Africans, we are not part of it. We do not know what we are talking about. We are not engaging in whatever aspect of whatever it is that is happening. So for us to be able to have the blockchain technology, just to start with the foundation, with the starting skills that everyday child, in whether it is in middle school, whether it is in college, just to be able to have that, to be part of the curriculum. When I was home in Senegal and I was going to school, right? The curriculum was full of, okay, so at the age of this, first French is the first language. Then you have to take English. Then there's a third language you have to pick. It can be German, it can be Russian, but to teach children science and math, to look at the boys and the girls and say, we want you after school or during school, right? We want you to sit and code. that's when change happens. And at the same time, we also would like to engage with all the educators, all the people that are influential, meaning people that are in the government, to make it the path a little bit more effective and welcoming, so everybody can be part of it. So that's one part. The education is it's just, it's everything. So
thanks for that, Virginia. And just to add to that, Ryan, the way, as Virginia has said, it's a key component, like we help to the next generation as they get onboarded into blockchain. They are the ones living in the community. They are the ones who will be developing the solution. So the WADA approach is very structured, and it's also very organic. So from the structural aspect of what we're trying to do is actually, putting boots on the ground and actually doing the work. Right now, another thing that I forgot to mention initially about some of the things that have changed on this third funding round is that we're in a partnership discussion with Blockchain Education Network. So this is a network, an organization that has been around for maybe 6 years plus. And what they do, basically, very simple, a framework that they work with. They just set up all these blockchain chapters or clubs in universities and in colleges. So with the partnership that we have with them, and because they've been doing it, and it's like, oh, we've identified somebody in this university or in this college, they are like, okay, this is the material, let's go for it. They are really, really efficient in that way. So they are going to really help us to accelerate. So that's the educational aspect of it in terms of what we want to do. Many years ago in Ghana, I worked with an NGO. And well, basically, it was sort of the same concept: wildlife conservation, education, awareness creation, and stuff like that. And we formed all these many clubs in primary schools. The whole idea is that, these kids, they go home, they talk to their parents, and their parents are asking, oh, what's that? And then that's how we also bring their parents on board. But in addition to that, like especially our Ghana country lead, she's somebody who has a lot of experience in this community organization stuff. And we, one of our models is to bring on influential people, a lot like what IOG has done in East Africa in terms of penetrating the government. Like we get a council of people who are very influential, and that's how they influence policy. That's how they get in touch with the government. And so those are some of the things that we are looking to do. And as Manfo has said, on the organic level, we are just looking to see, some of these groups and, groups, individuals who have dreams on the ground. We've gradually started hearing about some of these teams. Yesterday, I responded to another team in Nigeria, and we are very, very excited in terms of how this is going to be. It's organic, Mafu will say, we add to multiply. These people just come in, and then, they also have networks, and then that's how it's going to spread. So basically, we are just looking to the Cardano community just to help us build that capacity, at least for the next 3 years, in terms of, strategically just moving on the ground, and also making just developers, individuals, businesses aware of us. And then they reach out to us, and then we connect them. And then that is how we can get developers to, as we said before, start building through these hubs that we are trying to form.
Yeah. So then whenever there is someone that has an idea developer that wants to develop an application on Cardano, then and that developer is in West Africa, then he or she can have a local partner to get to. And that's so important. And I think like maybe that's also something we can discuss more, like the broader part of like why it's important to have local partners. And then I think you mentioned it, Virginia, the fact that Africa has not been in the scope of technology in there so far. So then, and then I kind of feel the same. I'm born and raised in Latin America, in Chile, and I had always like looked at all these American and European tech companies, and then I thought and then the model is like they grow there and then they just open subsidiaries in your country.
Yeah.
But it's never from the ground up. It's not that or just in just a few cases that local companies become huge, because maybe also of the lack of that local network also, or help. And in this case, the technology is there, then the network also is building. So maybe we can discuss also that part of how do you guys see the future for West Africa, or for Africa in general, with networks like this, and how that could change things in general.
I can start with that. So one of the huge limitations in Africa, like it's everything, when Josh ABCD, he would say that every sector in Africa is just ripe for disruption. But, we just look at Cardano and what Cardano does in terms of, we have all these, like we have in Cardano, the protocol is addressing identification, it's addressing ownership, record keeping, it's addressing finances, and then risk mitigation in terms of insurance and health and stuff like that. But in terms of how we can, do it at a more local level, the big challenge in Africa, I think at this point, in terms of your question, so many challenges, but just directing it to your question, is just getting finance to the everyday people. Like somebody like my grandmother in the village who has a farm. So it's finance and it's access to markets, right? Mm-hmm. So and I believe that. So on a WADA perspective, we equip those who would equip somebody, say, like in the village, right? So basically, what we are dreaming that, because a blockchain, removes the intermediaries, the person in the middle, it's easier for anybody and anyone, first of all, to get access to finances, and then begin to grow their business without anybody putting a limitation on whatever they are doing. And because, like if you want to go big, you start a business in Senegal, and you are prospering and you are going big and you want to expand. Sometimes, like you have to go to the central bankers, or if you are really expanding, then you have to go international. And if, whichever international organization you're looking for the funding from, they can just say, what, we will just buy you out. So that's some of the reasons that a lot of these companies just tend to be branches from Western countries. But, with blockchain, everybody has the power. And, you start and you can, keep going. Right now it's baby steps. We realize that we are not there yet, but we see the dream. That's why we have people like Virginia, we have people like Malfo, and we know that we are getting more and more people, because the dream is becoming clearer and clearer, and there is a path. There's an implementation path to that dream. So that's what is driving us right now, and we know that the future is bright for Africa. Blockchain technology was made for Africa. We don't want the middleman anymore. All the illiquid wealth that is trapped in Africa. We are hoping that will get onto markets, to buyers, consumers, wherever they are, in South America, in the Western world, even within Africa itself. Yeah, the future looks bright.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a great use case also initially for remittances or payments, international payments, avoiding the middlemen would be also a great thing to see, that what you were mentioning, Manfo, as well, that the diaspora can not only just send money back to their relatives, but also maybe in the future fund local business in their countries of origin. So if a person from Nigeria that is living in London and can finance a company via the blockchain, via Cardano's blockchain, to be created in his local Nigeria, that will be awesome. And probably that person has much more interest in allocating part of his resources to that even to another country. So yeah. There we go again to the importance of the local focus and network as well. And in this case of the diaspora of West African countries. But sorry, carry on.
Absolutely. I just want to add a little bit more to what Virginia and Mercy, just said. The way there are two components, right? You have the resource component. Obviously, we need resources. And just like Mercy said, those resources, usually the way they come, they are really like people who finance projects in Africa. Usually they have their own agenda. And that's one part of it. Now, even once you get those resources, the other question is, what do you do with those resources? So that's where we want to come in. And the way we're thinking about this is, with our background in agriculture, as I said before, we really want to go there and, start something like a farm. And we see it as the seed, starting the farm where you have to, let's say, build structures to have kids there during vacation time, so you get them away from TVs with programs that they watch all day long with no real content, and you get them on the farm. And the process of creating the farm, they are part of it, they're having fun in the open. So we see agriculture to some extent as the seed. In the process, you teach people how to use like new techniques, innovation, organic practices, and regenerative practices in, farming. So that's a little bit how on the practical level, we are thinking about like deploying ourselves. The other aspect, which is networking, and so the way we think about networking is you have, if starting with agriculture and then the need to have, let's say, a homeschool. And thanks to this pandemic, maybe it's the positive aspect of it. Now parents are staying home and they're realizing that, hey, we can actually, teach kids even at home. So that's what we're thinking about. So with the farm and then the homeschool with sprinkle or pop. And then in the process, you start educating like local communities about like blockchain, what value it can specifically bring to them, because it's not just going there and talking about ADA. No, you have to show people, you have to teach them. It's a process. You have to teach them slowly, and you have to convince them that they need this. If they don't see the value, they're not going to jump in, and then it takes time. So through agriculture, we're thinking about like, I don't know how to say, like patching.
Yeah, bringing other things on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
We could put Malfo on for an hour, and he would. I tell you, he has great dreams. He has big dreams, and we are just so blessed to have him as he and his team. He already has a significant team, and we feel so blessed to have him and his team on the WADA, with the WADA family, because what he's doing, we just spread it, we just, he does it, and then we multiply it in Nigeria and in Senegal and in Ghana and, the rest of Africa. So, yeah.
And if I may add, and that's why for me, I was so giddy, to be part of WADA, because, like I often tell people, we don't need to rewrite history, right? When it's done at one place and we know it is done well, all we need to do is replicate it.
Exactly.
We don't need to be upfront. We don't need to be, let's organize it. And the second thing I love about being part of WADA is it's a team that has, members all over the world, right? We are everywhere. We have boots on the ground in Africa. We are in, Europe. So it is just such a wonderful team. And, to add the fact that we also have such a great supportive Cardano family team.
Exactly.
That are just, they just keep on giving and giving. So I truly, truly believe that we will be pushing power to the edges.
Exactly.
Power to the people. We are going to teach them, we're going to learn with them, we're going to walk with them, we're going to cry with them. But what we are not going to do is accept anybody saying no. You're going to have to do it with us. And then we will get to where we need to get. So.
Your passion is contagious, Virginia.
I tell you.
It's all about passion.
Yeah. She keeps the WADA team on our toes. She writes all these things. These are the things that we need to do.
She lives the spirit of all of you.
Exactly.
Well, great. I think also that that's also a great, as Virginia was saying, also as that you could replicate if you guys are successful on this and on with a WADA project, the other local teams can start doing that, maybe in Southeast Asia, maybe in South America, maybe in other regions as well, where they see the importance and how to grow the local networks, and then they have examples to look after. So that's why it's super important to have early good use cases that they can also learn from and then keep on growing like that, the networks also on a worldwide basis. But yeah, we can go on for hours talking about decentralization and the future for applications also on Cardano and Project Catalyst as well. So now that I mentioned Project Catalyst, so if anybody that wants to know more, and now my neighbor started with drilling, so you can hear it. Great timing. You can follow, you can just go to cardano.ideascale.com or just go to the link that I'm going to leave here down, and you can read more about WADA and the project specifically. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much, Virginia, Manfo, and Mercy. And then hopefully in the future, we can have other follow-ups on the project.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. Yeah, thanks to you, Ryan, and the Cardano community. IOG, they are focused on Africa, and Catalyst. Without Project Catalyst, we will not be where we are today. The contacts and all that. So we are very, very grateful.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and thank you all, guys. And we'll be posting soon other new interviews with other projects. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.